Alright, so the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you guys how to derive the quadratic equation. This is because I just taught you how to complete the square, which is a part of doing it, and my next lesson will be on using the quadratic equation, so I thought I would show you guys where it actually comes from. So we begin with the standard form of a quadratic. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And what we're going to do is complete the square on the formula itself. And that begins by moving c over. Ax squared plus bx is equal to a negative c. And the next thing that we're going to do as a part of completing the square, we're going to divide all of these terms by a. And let's rewrite. We have x squared plus b over a x equal to a negative c over a. And what we're going to do now is finish completing the square. We're going to take our b term, b over a, and we're going to divide by 2, and we will square that. This will become the term that we add to both the left and the right side of the equal sign. So we keep it, change it, flip it. We have b over a times 1 over 2 squared, and finally we end up with b over 2a squared, which I'm going to add to both sides of my equal sign. And here we go. We have x squared plus b over a x plus b over 2a squared equal to a negative c over a plus b over 2a squared. Now, this is going to be a perfect trinomial that we can factor. And so let's go ahead and do that. I factor it and I get x plus b over 2a squared is equal to a negative c over a plus, you know what, let's simplify this a little further. That's going to become b squared over 4a squared. Now the reason that we completed the square was so that we could solve this by finding the square root of both sides. Remember that this is going to be plus or minus, and the square root of something squared is going to be itself, so we end up with x plus b over 2a equal to plus or minus the square root of a negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. Now I deliberately left a gap there, since what I'm going to do now is give these fractions a common denominator so that I can write them as one large fraction. All I have to do to make these have a common denominator is multiply the top by 4a and the bottom by 4a, and that is going to give me x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus radical negative 4ac over 4a squared plus b squared over 4a squared. I'm going to rewrite one more time. Now that they have the common denominators, I'm going to write them so that they are one large fraction. I have x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus radical, and let's switch these around, so I get b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Now, we are one step from actually having x solved for. Let's just move that b over 2a to the right side. It's going to give me x is equal to a negative b over 2a plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Now, I could use that the same way I use the quadratic equation, but we can make this even simpler. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this fraction as well as this fraction, which is over 1, and I'm going to give them a common denominator. That means I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2a. So that's x is equal to a negative b over 2a plus or minus 2a radical b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared over 2a. And let's recognize here that if 2a is on the outside being multiplied by the radical, that means that we actually have a times 2a squared on the inside. Now 2a squared is 4a squared. And that means the denominators can cancel out, and we can simplify this a little bit further. We get x is equal to a negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now that those have the common denominator we're looking for, we can write them as one large fraction. X is equal to a negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and that is the quadratic equation.